Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. Have you ever been on a date where halfway through, you realize you're sitting across from a test you never signed up for? That was me when Brittany, the lady I've been talking to for a while, looked me dead in the eye and said, "You ain't my type." I didn't argue or beg. I just paid the bill, stood up, and left. But what came after? That's where the real story begins. Before I even get into what happened on this date, I think it's important I tell you a little bit about my past relationship. I gave my ex everything, my time, my trust, my loyalty. Somehow, it still wasn't enough, and she just never valued it. When it ended, I walked away feeling like I wasn't worth much. So, I made a decision to forego dating until I got myself right. I poured myself into the gym. I started eating better, waking up earlier, and pushing myself harder. I leveled up at work too. I focused on saving, investing, and getting my money in order. I wanted to make sure that when I did choose to share my life again, I was bringing a version of myself I could actually be proud of, not a broken man searching for someone else to fix him. And for a while, I was content being on my own. But eventually, as the months turned into years, I had my friends nudge me into giving relationship a chance. They'd say things like, "Man, you've done the work. You're not that same guy anymore. You should get back out there." And I thought they might be right. So I decided to try. I made a profile on a dating app. It felt weird, putting myself out there again after all the time I spent focusing on myself. Picked a few decent photos, wrote about what I'm into, what I believe in, and what I'm looking for. I spent a couple of hours swiping through profiles, looking for someone who felt like a fit. I swiped right on a few women. Most of them were beautiful in their own way and had interesting bios. A handful of them swiped right on me too, and we started chatting. Nothing too deep at first. Just light conversations to see if there was a vibe. Then I came across Brittany's profile. She had this smile that made you stop scrolling. Her pictures were polished, her captions clever. She had this mix of elegance and sass that pulled me in. Her profile said she was in marketing, loved traveling, and preferred deep conversations over small talk. I could relate to that because that's exactly how I am. So I swiped right. When we matched, she messaged me first saying, "You look like you know what you're doing, do you?" It was playful, even bold. That caught my attention immediately. Our conversations moved quickly. She was witty, sharp, and never short of things to say. But beneath the charm, there was something about the way she texted that gave me pause. It was subtle, a little bit of condescension, like she was constantly measuring me just enough for me to notice. Still, I kept going. She was interesting, and I won't lie, I liked the attention. While other women were sending me long, thoughtful messages, Brittany had this way of drawing me in, making me feel like I had to win her over. And for some reason, I took the bait. I stopped replying as much to the others, even though a few of them were clearly more open, more respectful. I was just focused on Brittany. Our conversations got deeper. We started sharing bits about our lives, what we were looking for, and joking about bad dating experiences. She made me laugh. She teased me in a way that felt flirty, and I gave it right back. There was this rhythm to our chats, like we were starting to get each other. Before long, it felt natural to bring up the idea of meeting in person. We both agreed it was time for a proper date. Setting up that first date felt like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. She said she had a hectic schedule. I understood that. I was busy too, juggling a few things on my end. But I also believe that when two people genuinely want to meet, they make it work. So, I tried to be flexible. I let her pick the day and time that worked best for her. After a few back and forths, we finally settled on a date. The day came, and right before I was about to head out, she texted that she wouldn't be able to make it. No real details. Just that something came up, an emergency, she said. I'll be honest, that rubbed me the wrong way. Not because of the cancellation itself, but because of how it was handled. She didn't give any context, didn't even ask if we could try another day. It felt dismissive, like I was just one more thing she could move around on her schedule. Still, I tried not to overthink it. People go through things. Emergencies happen. So 2 days later, I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt and reached out again. That's when she hit me with her standard. She replied and said, "Yeah, I might be free this weekend, but just so you know, I don't do coffee dates. I only do proper dinner dates at good restaurants." It felt like it was an interview, and I was the applicant. Now, I know some guys would have taken that personally or backed off. But me? I just saw it as a chance to see where this might go. I figured she'd been through some bad experiences and just wanted to be treated seriously. So, without pushing back, I told her I'd make it work. So I picked a restaurant that had a calm, easy vibe. It was a good balance of quality and comfort. I got there about 15 minutes early, which is kind of my thing. I like being on time. I had taken my time getting ready, too, because I believe that how you show up says a lot about how you value the other person's time. I sat at the table, checked the menu, and sipped water while watching the entrance every couple of minutes. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Still no word from Brittany. I figured maybe she got caught up in something, so I sent a double text. 20 minutes in, I was already thinking about whether to just call it a night. And then she walked in and headed straight to the table, then dropped herself into the seat, exhaled loudly, and said, "Ugh, traffic was ridiculous." Not once did she say, "Hey, sorry for keeping you waiting." But I nodded, said something like, "Yeah, it can get crazy this time of day." But in my head I already knew. She wasn't raised on the same rules I was. From the way she was acting since she came here, I could feel it. She thought she was doing me a favor by just showing up. Her energy felt like she was evaluating me. But I stayed calm and stopped myself from jumping to conclusions. I told myself maybe she had a rough day. Maybe she just needed a minute to settle in. I stayed quiet, and I smiled where it felt natural. I gave the night a chance, even when it was already showing signs that it might not be worth it. Soon, the waiter brought the menus, and Brittany immediately frowned. She looked at the options like she was being punished, sighing and muttering under her breath, "Ugh, is this really all they have?" When the waiter came to take our orders, she acted as though the poor guy was wasting her time. Rolled her eyes when he explained the specials, barely glanced at him. I tried to be polite because I was already sensing I might need to balance out her energy. After the waiter walked away, I tried to steer the conversation into lighter, friendlier territory. Asked her about her hobbies, what she likes to do when she's not working. She gave short answers. And while I was talking and sharing a bit of myself, she kept checking her phone. At one point, I stopped mid-sentence just to see if she'd notice. She didn't. Then the conversation turned toward what I do for a living. I told her I was in a tech-related field and kept it surface level. That's when she gave me some backhanded comments. At first, I thought maybe she was just being playful and sarcastic. But she wasn't asking out of curiosity. She was judging. She asked if I owned my apartment or rented. I could see that she was already sizing me up in her head. That's when I made a decision. I could have told her the truth about how I actually do well for myself. But I didn't. I downplayed everything. Told her I was still trying to figure things out, still grinding. I wanted to see how she'd treat me if she thought I had nothing to offer. We were halfway through the meal when she leaned back, looked at me with this flat, unimpressed expression, and said, "You're not really my type, and I don't think this will work." I sat there for a second, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I was doing the math in my head. The time I spent texting her, trying to schedule this date around both our supposedly busy lives. The way I rearranged my own commitments just to make this happen. The emotional energy I invested in actually hoping this could turn into something. All of it for this moment. But instead of snapping back or trying to prove something, I looked at her, gave a small nod, and said, "Got it." Then I called the server over, asked for the bill, and paid for the entire meal. I just stood up, looked her in the eye one last time, and said, "Enjoy your meal." Then I walked out. As I stepped outside, I felt this wave of relief, like I had just sidestepped something that could have wasted even more of my time. I had seen the signs and still kept going, giving her the benefit of the doubt. As I got home that night, I dropped my keys on the counter, kicked off my shoes, and just sat on the edge of the bed for a while, reflecting on everything. I was drained and disappointed, mostly at myself for investing so much time and energy into something that turned out to be this shallow. I had hoped for more, But I wasn't going to beat myself up about it. I got up, took a shower, and was just about to climb into bed when my phone lit up. It was Brittany. Her message was, "Wow, that's it? You just leave." She genuinely couldn't believe I walked away. Like somehow I was supposed to sit there and entertain her cold shoulder, her jabs, her passive-aggressive nonsense, and still keep chasing. I stared at the message for a second and then locked my phone. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I knew exactly what not to do. She wanted a reaction. She wanted me to defend myself, to seek her validation, to fall into the trap of proving something. But I had no interest in playing that game. The next day, I woke up to a longer message. This time, she went all in. "Real men don't give up that easily," she wrote. "You were supposed to show me you wanted me." Then a follow-up text. "You couldn't handle a challenge." Weak. I just laughed. This was her angle the whole time. It was never about connection. Never about mutual respect. It was about power, control, and being chased. She wanted me to grovel for her attention after she had gone out of her way to act like she was above me. When I didn't play along and didn't take the bait, she tried to shame me into chasing her. But here's the thing. When someone thinks love is a game, they'll keep changing the rules until you lose. And I had no interest in losing myself again just to win someone else. I had done that in the past. I'd bent over backwards, trying to prove I was worthy. I'd stayed in places I didn't belong just because I thought walking away made me the bad guy. Not anymore. So I left her messages on read. I didn't block her. I'd already chosen peace over performance. Over the following days, Brittany started popping back up again. I'd post something on Instagram, and I'd see her name among the viewers. Then she started liking my older photos. That's how I knew she wasn't just casually checking in, but fishing for my attention. I ignored it, of course, because I had already made peace with how things ended, and I wasn't looking for closure through recycled flattery. But she didn't stop there. A few days later, she sent a text. I hadn't responded to any of her previous messages or calls, and still, there it was. A long message that started with a weak excuse. "I didn't mean what I said. I was just testing you. I like guys who don't quit on me. You passed the test, by the way, lol." I sat with that message for a second because it confirmed exactly what I'd started to suspect. The whole thing was a game to her. That so-called apology wasn't about accountability. It was her way of rewriting the story to make it seem like I'd somehow proved myself worthy. Like the disrespect she threw at me was some kind of audition I was supposed to pass. I still didn't respond. And when she saw I still wasn't playing along, she ramped things up. Started sending selfies, random, out-of-nowhere pictures of her with captions like, "Thinking of you," or "Are you still thinking about me?" She thought maybe I was the type to break if she poked just the right spot. But the truth is, I'd already moved on. So when she asked if we could meet up again to talk things through, I didn't hesitate. I told her, "Nah, I think we're already done. I am already talking to someone else," and didn't want to complicate things. Then I blocked her number. You know, after everything with Brittany, I had to sit with myself to really think about the kind of people we meet. It's strange how people confuse being pursued with being loved. Like, somewhere along the line, they believe that if a man doesn't jump through hoops, if he doesn't grovel or beg or chase after being disrespected, then he must not care enough. And I used to fall for that. There's a time years ago when I found myself wrapped up with a woman who had the same mindset. She never said it out loud, but it was always there. This unspoken expectation that I had to prove myself every day just to earn a sliver of her attention. And the more she pulled away, the harder I tried to close the gap. I'd buy her things. I'd apologize when I didn't even know what I'd done wrong. I made excuses for her coldness, thinking maybe if I just loved her the right way, she'd finally soften. But she didn't. And in the end, I lost so much of myself in that chase that when it finally ended, I didn't even recognize the man in the mirror anymore. That was the lowest I've ever felt. To be honest, I wouldn't wish that version of myself on anyone. That experience broke something in me. Real love should feel like peace, not performance. It should come from mutual respect, not manipulation. So no, I'm not mad at Brittany or hate her. If anything, I feel sorry for her. Because I know women like that think they're being strong or selective or high value. But really, they're just scared to let their guard down. They measure love by how far a man will crawl, instead of how well he listens. And in the long run, that leaves them just as empty as the men they exhaust. For me, I'm done with that. I've got too much self-respect to play those games anymore. And if that makes me not her type, then thank God for that.